Welcome to a Triton training video. This is a tutorial video, part of the Day 1 series. It shows two control modes for using Relay 2 to activate an inhibitor pump. Since there are so many ways to access the Triton's web interface, and the web interface is so easy to use, we'll demonstrate how to set up Relay 2 to activate an inhibitor pump using the web interface. If you are using the Triton's front panel menus, however, the settings are the same. Just run your favorite web browser and access the Triton you wish to configure. Enter a password that has change access. Seeing this picture in the middle of the status page just indicates the dashboard has not been set up. Let's go now to Relay 2 and configure it to activate an inhibitor pump. Although these web pages update automatically, you can also click this button to force a page update. The Triton ships with the operation mode set to user mode 1 of the 5 built-in user modes. So the first thing I want to configure for Relay 2 is its custom name. This controller will be controlling 2 cooling towers, and I want to indicate Relay 2 is for the Tower 1 inhibitor pump. Now let's go down to the relay usage, a very important setting. It tells the Triton how you will be using the relay for a cooling tower bleed valve, boiler blowdown valve, a chemical pump, alarm relay, and so forth. And then the Triton will adjust the auto control configuration settings to be appropriate for that usage. We'll be using Relay 2 to pump inhibitor, so of the categories of control modes, the first control mode I will demonstrate is a water meter mode, as feeding inhibitor based on makeup water volume is a very popular method. Water meter in time is the only water meter mode offered for a chemical pump, and its configuration is very simple. You simply pick the water meter whose volume measurement you'll be using as the trigger. The makeup meter is pre-selected in this list only because it is the first item in the list. Then we'll set the water volume that we want to use as the trigger for the feed, and the duration of the feed time. So now we have configured Relay 2 to activate for 30 seconds for every 50 gallons of makeup water. But be careful, folks. Although we've configured this auto control mode, the mode is not active. It is not turned on. Please remember to activate your control modes after configuration. Of course, there are other ways to feed inhibitor. On this controller, for example, the makeup line will actually be shared between the 2 towers, so using makeup volume to feed only one tower is impractical. There is a bleed meter on the bleed lines for each tower, so that would be another way to use the water meter mode. Or we can use a completely different control mode for the inhibitor feed, an other relay mode, where we can set the deactivation of the bleed valve to activate this inhibitor pump relay, to pump for a percentage of the bleed time's activation. That control mode would be feed after %. To configure this mode, you pick the other relay, whose deactivation will be used to trigger this relay. And again, the T1 bleed valve is pre-selected simply because it's at the top of the list. Then you would set any optional delay time before this relay activates, although I wouldn't use any delay to feed after a bleed valve, and then the percentage of the other relay's activation time for which you want this relay to activate. Knowing the pump rate of the inhibitor pump would help set this activation percentage. And as always, don't forget to activate the control mode after you've configured it. Well, that's all for part 1 on how to use Relay 2 to activate an inhibitor pump. Please watch part 2 to see how to use the manual controls, set your regular lockouts, and to look at the alarm settings. Yes, even if you've watched part 2 for Relay 1, I would watch part 2 for Relay 2, as the settings for a chemical pump are different from a bleed valve. Thank you for watching.